Welcome back to the series of 3 habits of highly successful Muslims. The clear objective and intent of these short videos is to review a great character in Islam, someone forgotten, yet their great contribution on Muslims and even on the world sometimes is radiant even today in our time. We will analyze their circumstances, the situation, what made them great, how they thought, how they made decisions, how they achieved their goals and dreams. We will see how that character applied those 3 principles or habits of highly successful Muslims: learn, plan, and execute, and how by applying them they've reached their goals and dreams. Before I get started, if you have not watched the introduction to 3 habits of highly successful Muslims, I would recommend you watch it first. It's only 12 minutes. The link is on the bottom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَقْصُصَ الْقَصَصَ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. So relate the story, perchance they may reflect. Therefore, in the sessions and the videos we're going to be meeting to talk about, we will comply and consider those lessons and as guidance. May Allah reward us. The character I'd like to talk to you about today, his name is Al-rhman ibn Muawiyah ibn Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan. He's from Quraysh. He's descendant from Quraysh. Al-Rhman was considered the founder of Al-Andalus. Well, you may ask, what is the Andalus, or what is even the significance of Al-Andalus? The Andalus in its time was the ornament of the world, the center of knowledge, illumination, all sorts of things, such as philosophy, astronomy, cosmology, science, pharmacology, so on, music, art. In short, Al-Andalus brought knowledge to the world. It was the center of illumination that brought Europe out of the Dark Ages into the Renaissance. Abdurrahman, the Falcon of Quraysh, name was given to him by his opponent and enemy. That name should be carved in gold in our mind. A true example of Muslim hero, not a fiction one, not in one Hollywood movie, etc. I'm sure once you know more about him, you're gonna love him, and you're also going to greatly admire his character as it really deserves. One day in the far, far east, in Baghdad, Khalifa al-Mansur, who was the Khalifa of Abbasiyin, ordered the creation of the greatest city of the world, Baghdad. In his court said, "Who is the Falcon of Quraysh?" Well, the members of the court said to him, "It's you, Khalifa, of course." He said, "No, it's not me. Give reasons why." Then they returned back and said to him, "Well, then it's Abdul Malik ibn Marwan." And he said, "No, give reasons why not." Recited other names. And then obviously, you know how members of the court wanted to always please the Khalifa. He stopped him and said, "No, none of those, none of the above. Sakr Quraysh is Abdurrahman ibn Muawiyah." He said the following words, which is written in history. Listen to me, he says. Fleeing with his life, exile alone, lost in fear, crosses the wilderness to unknown land, reaches his destination, but that's not it. He founded an ummah, protected Islam, created an organized system, plan and government, unified the fighting tribes, establishes justice, fight the infidels and triumphant. Overall, not only that, but Alhamdulillah الذي جعل بيننا وبينه البحر. Oh, thank Lord that He has created a vast ocean between Him and us. What a powerful words, right? From your opponent. Come with me, listen to this fantastic and true story about a person who is at the age of 19 years old, changes the time, changes his circumstances, future of the world forever. At the age of 19, he was an emir who lived in Damascus. When Al-Umayyad dynasty fell, 718, he was chased by Abbasiyin. Abbasiyin actually ordered the slaughter, and I mean really slaughter and kill of all male descendant of Al-Amawiyin. women, children would live. So he fleeing, reaches a little village near the Euphrates, Nahr al-Furat, Iraq, and he sits there in a little village hiding until better fortune comes. Had to wait, had to know, had to learn. Then all of a sudden he hears rumbling in the market, people running, and he turns around, looks at his brother who's 13 years old, and his servant, faithful steward and servant Bedr. And he goes, Al-Abbasiyin, Ashab al-Rayat al-Sud, the Abbasiyin with the red flag are here. And he takes his brother from his arm, runs across the field, reaches the bank of Nahr al-Furat, the Euphrates River. And he says those words. In his own words, I am going to tell you what he said. Now, Abbasin was actually on one side of the river and they were shouting. He says, telling his brother, come back, come back. You have nothing to fear of. We will not harm you. Then he turns around. I swam and swam. I was a little ahead of my brother. Halfway through crossing the river, I turned and encouraged my brother. But hearing their promises, my brother turned back. He said, I'm afraid they give us safety. I'm going back. Al-Rhman turns around, shouts at his brother, come back, beloved brother, they will kill you. But he did not listen. His brother turned back, swims ashore, gets captured by Al-Abbasiyin. Meanwhile, Abdurrahman swims across the other side of the bank, stop, gets up, looks the other side, while the soldiers were actually undressing his brother, who was 13 years old. He looks at them as they decapitated and killed his brother in front of his eyes. This picture haunted him his entire life. Absolutely gruesome pictures to have in memory. So scared, keeps running. He did not stop, ran for miles and miles and miles, keep going. Finally reaches Morocco. Trip was so hard, but he finally reaches a powerful tribe where his mother was from in North Africa. For 4 long and hard years, he waited and planned and collected information. What are the next steps? The entire world is closing down on me. Where am I going to go? The emir of actually North Africa wanted to kill him as well because he thought that the loyal subject of his uncle would come in under his banner, and then it would actually be resistance that may take over his ruleship of Morocco. So he wanted to kill him as well. Now he's being chased by everybody. So scared, he starts to write to the lordship, loyal subjects of his uncle in Al-Andalus. He sends his servant and steward, faithful Bedr, over, waits 4 years. You said that he was used to walk up to the side of the Al-Andalus from the other side of straight Gebel Tariq, the other side, and he would wait by the shore and hope that something will come back. Bed will come back with news. He also was said that he wrote over 500, maybe to 1,000 letters across. Finally, after 3 years, Bedr comes back. Well, actually sends a messenger back, and Bedr did a great job. Well done. Beside winning over Al-Sumail, who was actually ruling um, the chieftain. I mean, there's a great chieftain in Andalus, but he wasn't really the ruling person. Yusuf al-Fihri was actually the governor or the wali in Al-Andalus. So, Subad comes back, returned with a pledge and support not only from Al-Sumail, but also from Yemeniyin or Yemenite faction in the peninsula, which was just defeated in a little war. There were civil war going on in Al-Andalus, and it was actually said that Al-Andalus was going to fall 100%. It's just a matter of time at this point. Abdurrahman reaches the other side, get on a little boat, swim, rows, and reaches the other side. You may think by that time is Abdurrahman is safe. He's going to call up for his wife. He's going to get his son. They're gonna have a little, a little home, a little bit of garden, front yard, backyard, a little bit of a swing set, play with his kids, have a fun life, and everything is good, right? Safe. That is a big objective to save yourself. But that's not him. That is not Abdurrahman. In one long, hard restless and relentless effort in 1 year, people flocked under his banner. He visited so many homes. He did not stop. Finally captures the peninsula from Yusuf al-Fihri. The struggle, 6 year struggle, and 1 more year in Andalus cost him his eye. He literally was not able to see with one of his eyes. But yet it all paid off. In 756 AD, Al-rhman declared Al-Andalus independent from Al-Abbasiyin. It was too small that he was afraid that if he declares as an empire or Khilafah, it would be a problem. So he decided, very smart decision, that he would just make it an Imara and establish an independent based on justice and tolerance for all religions and ethnic groups in the peninsula, which actually gave him a stand um, and popular base among the heterogeneous population in the peninsula because it was made up of all different kinds of religions. After establishing his free Umayyad Imara, he was the first thing he turned his attention to. I want to repel the invading Christians from the north. Around this time, it was Charlemagne was actually pushing down Imara from the top. And Charlemagne is actually the grandson of Charles Martel, who had won a big war with Muslims in Mawqat Balat Shuhada with Abdurrahman al-Ghafiqi, which I'm going to be talking about in one of those sessions coming up next. Um, he was actually able to he was able to repel the Christians. He was able to form up 40 to 50,000 largely made up, very strong soldiers dedicated to him, organized in groups, and was able to also subdue all the intermittent campaigns to resist him, which was said to be about over 30 to 32 different times, or maybe even close to 40 coups in his 32 years of reign. He was kind-hearted, generous. Everybody liked him. He had so much mercy. He was unselfish. He was also a poet who wrote so many really touching uh, poems about his life in an exile land as a palm tree. He also introduced palm tree. He asked a traveling caravan going back east to bring back a palm tree, and he planted it, and it stayed there for many, many years until he died. And he used to go out, sit next to it, and talk to it and recite poetry. Um, he was very simple. He built a Damascus-like um, a Rusafa, a palace to rule from. He turned Cordoba into something similar to Damascus. In 2005, Spain celebrated Abdurrahman al-Dakhil by building a monument statue where he landed almost 1,300 years back in time. Brothers and sisters, the Spainian actually in Spain celebrated Abdurrahman after that many years. It is our time now to know who's this person. What did he do for us? What did he do for the world? How in 32 years he changed the course of history. Come with me. Let's see what Andalus, what is the Umayyads did in this little Imara over the next 300 years. The Islamic Arabic civilization actually endured for 718 years in Andalus. To be exact, it's from 711 to 1492. Well, definitely because of the proximity to Europe in Spain and the tolerance culture that they had provided. It had so much to do with the impetus and the foundation of the Renaissance. And I'm gonna give you some examples. My task is pretty hard to try to do that in a few minutes. While this is not a talk on how Muslims influenced the civilization in Europe or the Renaissance, I do want to give you some points that relates to the consequences of Abdurrahman al-Dakhil actually establishing his imarat in um, in um, in Andalus. So the influence in many, many, many fields. I'll mention a few of them here pretty quickly, and you can see this today in a Western European language, words such as alchemy, chemistry, algebra, algorithm, even some commodities such as sugar, cotton, camphor, and so on. You see it very evident in astronomy, names of stars, Aldebaran, Betelgeuse, Betelgeuse. There are actually hundreds and hundreds of stars named in Arabic. Places, names of lexicons in language, in Spanish. I think there's about 4,000 words in Arabic, about 8% of the lexicon in Spanish, rooted in Arabic. Um, you can't help but think, how people actually miss the Green Revolution that the Muslim people introduced into Europe, in new crops such as artichoke, pomegranate, oranges, figs, rice, lemon, eggplant, spinach, many more. An irrigation technique that actually helped widen and spread it throughout Europe. There are many places. I think there was over 2,500 places named after Arabic places. Uh, Guadalquivir, for instance, is Al-Wadi al-Kabir in Spain. It's named in Arabic. Um, there are also places such as Medina, Alcatraz, Alvarez. These are all Arabic names. I'll give you some names also of individuals that actually contributed to um, in different fields, such as medicine, Al-Zarqawi and Al-Zahrawi, and many. Al-Zakrawi is actually an astronomer who lived in the 11th century. He developed the astronomical table in astrolabe, which actually helped navigation in oceans. And it was used for 500 years to come. Al-Zahrawi, who built, actually created and wrote 30 volumes on medical encyclopedia around year 1000. His books were extremely important in medicine. I mean, he demonstrated how surgeries on broken bones, how you use certain tools. I think he introduced a few hundreds of little tools that can be used in surgery by names, by motion. How do you create them? He created them himself actually in his own lab. There are, because of the tolerance and the culture that was developed in Spain, many literature and ideas and philosophy came out from even non-Muslim, like Jewish scholars. Maimonides is one of them, who was also a thought leader on ethics law and revived the Jewish traditions. He was very influential in European. Even today, Thomas Aquinas, he talks about the commentator 503 times in his books. The commentator is actually Averroes or Ibn Rushd, who commented on the translation of Aristotle in his publications, and his publications were translated all over Europe. Ibn Hazm. Ibn Hazm was a great scholar who wrote over 400 books on many subjects, well known in the West of some of the treatises around love. But he also wrote on religion, philosophy, and other areas in his work. Very interesting to mention, the Book of Games was actually introduced by Alfonso in 1221. The Book of Games was translated into Arabic. I believe it has pictures of Arabic person playing chess with a Christian person. It was just an interesting fact to bring up, and the Book of Games had features so many games in it. It's an encyclopedia of games, actually. I would be remiss not to bring up the name of the Ziryab. And Ziryab, by the way, it means in Arabic, it means the black bird, who also it means red and gold. Who's actually a Kurd. He lived in Baghdad in Iraq, and he left and came to an Andalus, and he introduced so much to us you don't even know today: cooking style, hairstyles, toothpaste, fashion, clothing, music. He introduced so many ideas to the West. Even drinking in glass. I mean, when you drink in glass today, think of Ziryab, who's the first person in the world to introduce those types of fashion. I was also credited to be the first person to introduce a menu. So when you start to eat, you first eat something warm, and then you eat salad, and there's a course that come after that, and then you finish by dessert. This is all what he introduced in terms of how do you behave, what do you wear, season colors that go with seasons, and so on. So he was a household name around the globe for so many years. He would be asked to draw and cut dresses for queens and kings around the globe. So I will talk more about Ziryab in my next recorded video. While there's so many researches out there to prove or not prove or disprove that the Arabs actually caused the Renaissance spark in Europe, I want to bring up some points. I'll let you decide. After the fall of Toledo, 1085, the movement started. Michael Scott, 1175, translated books found in libraries in Toledo from Ibn Rushd. He also translated books on spheres, math from Biruni. Fibonacci, who made contact to Northern African people in Morocco and Algeria, Tariqs. Actually, Fibonacci sequence was adopted by him, introduced to Europe. He also introduced the Arabic numerical to Europe. I do want to bring up, however, Fibonacci did not invent the sequence of numbers. It was actually taken from the Arabs. Um, some people know Fibonacci as the Leonardo of Pisa, with the tilting tower. Other names such as Gerard of Cremona, he lived 1114 to 1187, translated algorithms and algebra from the father of computer today. His name is Al-Khwarizmi. If you don't know him, please look him up. He also studied Arabic and traveled to Middle East and Toledo. Other names are actually very well known as well as Ed Lard of Beth, worked on philosophy, astronomy, cosmology, and astrology. He also translated so many books from Ibn Rushd to Latin, and he learned Arabic as well. Another interesting fact is if you know Copernicus and his theory around revolving, all the planets revolve around the sun, he failed to attribute that work to Nasruddin Tusi and Al-Shirazi, who actually he actually put the entire theory together a couple hundred years before his time. And it is funny because he took the words from Al-Tusi and Shirazi word for word. I do. I'm providing you a picture here so you can actually see how the translation for word for word. Um, So there's so many researches, there's so many articles and books on the Arab contribution to human progress in terms of astronomy, math, cosmology, art, legacies out there. There's so many interesting facts and books that you need to, if you'd like to research further. What I want to bring up at the end is the important fact that if you don't plan, if you don't learn first, if you don't assess yourself, your situation, what is around you, and how to take that knowledge and do something with it, you will fail. If you don't plan based on the knowledge you've assessed, you will fail. If you don't plan particularly in your head first and you live through your plan and you believe in it, you will fail. If you don't execute to the plan, if you give up, you will fail. The reason why Al-rhman al-Dakhil succeeded in all these things and became one of the reasons why we have what we have today because of his establishment in 32 years Imara in Al-Andalus that lasted for over 300 years and his descendants. And from there, we've seen knowledge, we've seen intellectual revolution that came out is because he understood how to live his dream in his head. He understood 100% I will be able to achieve my goals if I stick to it. I'm not going to quit. I am not going to give up. I have big goals and I'm going to learn pretty well. I'm going to plan pretty well. I'm going to execute to my plan. I'm not ever going to give up. Please understand you can be the next Abdurrahman al-Dakhil. Obviously, it's different circumstances and time, but you can be that person. I'd love for you to, comment, provide feedback. Wait for me for the next character, hero, Muslims who changed the world. We'll continue our discussion and have a great day. Wassalamu alaikum.